Ex-Helia top cop spent lavishly while millions in department funds vanished. Oh, God. The 43-page affidavit details what led to Monday's arrest of Sergio Velasquez on charges including organized fraud, grand theft, and structuring transactions to evade reporting or registration requirements. A former Helia police chief arrested on grand theft and fraud charges deposited over $2 million in cash into bank accounts during his tenure and spent lavishly as petty cash and seized drug money vanished from the department.
So again, seized drug money. So we're talking about the same shit.
Yeah.
Civil forfeiture.
Yeah.
And I think the problem with this cop, the reason why he's in trouble, is that he selfishly took all that stolen money for himself.
Mm-hmm.
He's not supposed to do that. He's supposed to share it with all of his pawns and all of his stooges. But instead, he selfishly took it just for himself.
Yeah.
And his police officers working under him were sitting there. They were angry about this. They probably, started reading some Karl Marx. And we're like, he's stealing the surplus value of our stolen money.
I mean, really, he's defunding the police in his own way. Yeah. He's kind of an ally in that way.
Yeah, these are the heartwarmingest stories we got on this podcast is when cops are taking the funds that they're supposed to be using to harass people sleeping on benches and are instead, just doing whatever else with them.
Yeah. I mean, maybe in some way, I'm thinking if you're somehow a cop who has a soul and you're listening to this podcast and you're thinking, what can I do? Maybe steal as much money as possible from the police department, gather all the evidence you can on your evil colleagues, and then, of course, the most important step, you have to quit your job immediately and be prepared to do some jail time for all.
If you want a shot into getting into heaven, you got to pay your dues here on Earth first.
That's just your options.
That's just your Bible, folks.
Yeah, but defund and then do go to jail. Yeah, if you're a cop.
Shout out, y'all. Shout out all the cops listening to the pod.
Our
faithful listeners.
There's a guy out there. He's thinking about it. He's like, oh dang, this is actually.
Kelly's right. Kelly's right. Joffrey's love. I see what he sees in her. All right, let's keep going here.
Okay. Records showed that between 2015 and 2021, around 100 petty cash checks were cashed, totaling over $2.8 million. But of that amount, only $209,000 was ever documented as legitimate expenditures, leaving nearly $2.6 million unaccounted for, the affidavit said. Between 2016 and 2021, over $1 million from 20 court-awarded civil forfeitures also went missing. The cash was never submitted to the property unit and was instead held in a safe in Velasquez's administrative suite that only he and a couple others had access to.
Held in a safe in his suite. Yeah, dude. I'm just imagining like Tony Montana, at the end, his big office. I'm imagining a pile of cocaine on there. I mean, there probably is. There's a police.
Yeah, I mean, $2.8 million. Yeah. It's like, it's a fair amount of money.
It is.
Kind of leads me to a fun thought experiment. Like, what would you do? What would you do with $2.8 million of cop money?
Yeah.
Would you have a suite?
Yeah, I mean, it goes on into what he does. And he does, like, pretty much the very first things you would guess. He does those things.
Yeah. Well, let's see what he says. Business credit card purchases were made at a luxury watch retailer, Cartier. I think that's how you say that. Mm-hmm. Louis Vuitton, Versace, Saks Fifth Avenue.
Don't let them know how poor we are.
Watches of Switzerland and Sephora totaling over $77,000.
So exactly, literally the thing you would imagine someone who stole millions of dollars would do.
Yeah,
he did.
Yep. Records showed a dozen credit cards were used by Velasquez in his name or the name of his business. On April 20th, 2021, gotta celebrate 420.
Yeah.
Velasquez
As a
bought,
police officer.
Velasquez bought 2 Rolex watches.
Damn.
One for $6,304 in cash, and the other for $68,632. Both watches set to 4:20 p.m. No, I didn't say that part.
$60K on a watch, dude. This is like rap bars over here.
Yeah, splitting the payment between $30,000 on one credit card and $38,632 on another.
All right, not so rapper.
The affidavit said investigators found Velasquez had also leased a 2021 Mercedes. Yeah, it's more like, I guess, the Kanye bar, spending money before you have it. You know.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to admit it.
Yeah.
Velasquez was booked into jail, but appeared before a judge on Tuesday, where he was granted a $30,000 bond.
Yeah. So if anyone was listening to the story before this and imagining what could have happened, what could the cops possibly be doing with Tamia's $20,000? I mean, here's a little window into an imagination, if you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
They could be using it to partially pay for one watch.
Yeah. Of all the things.
Yeah. So, yeah, just wild times. Cops, you know, killing us, stealing money from us, buying Rolexes, going on full-scale SWAT team manhunts for women getting abortions.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I listen to you guys' podcasts, I do cry.
From laughter. That's how funny me and Ashton
came here
are.
today. I was like, don't cry. You have to go do the riffs. You got to try to make the bits.
You thought, don't cry. Joffer banned me from crying on the podcast. He said there's one rule.
But yeah, it breaks your heart.